Hey guys, it's Brant and I'm back with another video. Welcome back to In My Head channel. If it's your first time ever visiting the channel or coming across the video, I want to say hi and welcome to the channel, and I hope that you enjoy this video and any other videos that you may see in my playlist. I've been doing this for close to 7 years, and if you're a Kiss fan, this is a Kiss video, and I have tons. Literally tons of Kiss videos. If you could weigh them, a digital video, they'd weigh a ton. But anyway, today's video is going to be about the September releases. At the beginning of the month, one of the things I always do is I look and see how many albums Kiss put out that year. And September, October, November, December is what I call Phantom Month or Phantom Season for me, because it's right after I became a fan. I became a fan in August, and September, October was when, August of '77. Let me preface that. 8 years old, Kiss fan, new Kiss fan, in August of '77, and then Kiss put out Kiss Alive 2 in October, and Phantoms in September of the following year. So it is that whole time, and then Dynasty a year later. Dynasty not in September, but still it came out that following year. And so this is like, and solo albums. The solo albums also came out that year during Phantom. You see what I'm saying? So many albums. So how many albums did Kiss put out in September, live and studio? Well, that's what this video is about. I've got them sitting here beside me. We're going to go in date of the month, not necessarily chronicle order, but date of the month that these albums came out. So let's get right into it.
In my head, in my head.
All right, first album, September 10th, 1975. You know it, you love it, it's Kiss Alive. And what can you say about this album that hasn't been said? This is not really a review video because I've got some albums to get through here, and we're going to keep track. This is album number 1. And Kiss Alive, I mean, to some people, this is the pinnacle of Kiss. This is when Kiss reached their creative height, when they were still hungry, before they made it big. This was their make or break album with Casablanca, and this album definitely made them. So if you've been hiding under a rock, or if you've never seen Kiss Alive, real quick, I'm going to go through it just so you can see it, because some people they don't own physical copies of albums anymore. And if you are not a person who has had these albums or actively collect vinyl, you don't really know what they look like. And so I like to do that for you guys and show you the albums. So this is the cover, the iconic cover. This is a staged cover. This is a staged shot. Of course, Ace can't play his guitar backwards. And but this is just so iconic when you see this, and just something scary about Gene. So, you know, this picture used to scare me, especially Gene on here, just his face, when I was a kid. And then the inside, you have the letters over here from each band, and little fact: Peter's was not in fact written by Peter; it was written by his wife, Lydia. And then you have the other ones that they wrote. Ace and Gene and Paul wrote theirs, but these were a marketing type thing to kind of make the fans feel very close to the band. And then, as Kiss always does, you have more Kiss. So hey, if you got this album, go back and get these albums. And all the songs on this album came from these 3 albums. And then you have the iconic shot of the people in the back. And for the longest time, I thought this was a girl. The one on the left, the guy on the left. Thought that was a girl. Just a little factoid there. The albums are they come in like this type of wrapping, and on the back, it's a sleeve and it has Kiss Alive there in the corner, and then you see Dress to Kill on there, and you also see the first Kiss album and Hotter Than Hell, and then you see some other bands that were also on the Casablanca label: Buddy Miles, Donna Summer, Parliament Chocolate City, or Parliament P-Funk. And then the albums, of course, are the Blue label, Fogey albums. If you have a first press. If you don't, it might look a little different. And then the first of what we would see coming in the future was inserts. So you had like a tour kind of insert, not really a tour book, but iconic shots as well. Here, Peter and Gene. And then the inside, just a bunch of live shots, action shots, stage shots. Some shots from the photo shoot, kind of this very iconic shot that was a poster. I think I had that poster at some point in time. And then this is one of my favorite pictures of Ace. Great picture of Paul. A lot of my most favorite pictures of the band are from the Love Gun Alive 2 era, because those concerts, and there's so many photos. Kiss is one of the most photographed bands. I don't think that I can prove that as a fact, but they have to be one of the most photographed bands of all time. So September 10th, Kiss Alive. And what can you say about Kiss Alive that's not been said? It's just a great album, iconic all the way through and through. It's one of the albums I used to play along to, and I probably wasn't playing very good at this time, but I picked up drumsticks and started playing drums by listening to Peter. And Alive 2 was one of the albums I played along with a lot. And it took me a little bit of time to get Alive. I probably didn't get Alive until sometime in between the solo albums and Dynasty. It took me some time to catch some of the back catalog, but I think by the time Dynasty came out, I had everything prior to Dynasty that had been released since I became a Kiss fan. After I became a Kiss fan, it was Alive 2, Double Platinum, solo albums, Dynasty. But during that time, I was picking up, my mom was picking up stuff for me. And Dynasty was the album I bought with my first album I bought with my own money. So that is Alive, the first album that Kiss has released in September. Album number 2 that was released on the 13th of September in 1984, jumping forward 9 years, Animalize. And this is a great album. This album, I remember when it came out, I loved Animalize. And it's not aged as well for me. There's some songs on here that, I'll be honest, when I listen to Animalize, I don't skip the songs, but there's songs on here I definitely look forward to more than the others. So since I have a physical copy, we will pull it out. Here is the front. Here is the back. The photoshopped photo of them on the back, but it's still cool. I mean, that Kiss was in full 80s mode, even though this was very early in their 80s career for them. Of course, you had Lick It Up and the first non-makeup album, and then right behind it, Asylum, or not Asylum, Animalize, excuse me. So, but the black and white photos here, I wish these would have been color, but this is Mercury. Whenever Kiss went on to Mercury was boring. The albums are nothing to write home about. No pictures in the center disc, in the center label, just a boring Mercury. At least they kept their logo, though. At least they let them continue to do their logo. Had Kiss's logo just been regular font, that would have been really crappy. But you got lyrics. Something you didn't get in a lot of early Kiss albums had lyrics here. You can see who wrote it. And this was the Mark St. John album, Mark St. John's only album, a very short-lived tour. But rest in peace, Mark. So yeah, the second album that they released that we're talking about that was released in September is Animalize. Great songs on here. I've Had Enough, Heaven's on Fire, Burn Bitch Burn, Get All You Can Take, Lonely as the Hunter, Under the Gun, Thrills in the Night, While the City Sleeps, and Murder in High Heels. Only 9 tracks. Paul was doing a lot of the stuff himself during this time. Gene was off trying to be a movie star, and he was being a movie star. Gene's got some good albums, or not some good albums. He's got some good movies. I got albums on the brain. But yeah, Gene got the wig there, sported the wig through that whole tour. So, Animalize on September 13th, 1984. Now here's the funny thing. Check this out. I want y'all to think about this while you're watching this along with me. The next album came out on the 16th of September, just 1 year later. Think about that. So Kiss, after they released Animalize on September 13th in '84, toured the juggernaut that they are. It's just amazing. In their early career, they were putting out albums every 6 months. So at this point in time, they have put out Animalize in '84, and on the 16th of September, Asylum in '85. So they put out Asylum, toured, and made another album. And let me tell you, I love Asylum. Asylum was one of those albums that it was mid 80s, man. I mean, it was 85, and it was just a crazy time. There's so many bands coming out. 83 to 87, 88, so many bands came out. You know them. I don't have to even name them. You know them. You listen to them too. But Asylum, not the biggest fan of the cover. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people, I remember at the time, the blue and the green on Bruce and Eric. You gotta remember, Bruce and Eric Eric was still kind of the new guy, even though people had fell in love with him on the Animalize tour. I love his solo he did during that time, drum solo. It's very iconic. I used to be able to play it all the way through. I don't know if I can now or not. I've not played it in a long time, but I did have it memorized at one point in time. But Bruce was the new guy. But Bruce, during this time and all the way through Carnival of Souls, Bruce and Eric were the MVPs. Gene was still kind of checked out during this time. Paul was still doing everything he could to put out albums, even having to go back and redo Gene's bass lines. And Bruce did some of Gene's bass lines. Maybe not necessarily on this album. I don't know the specifics right off the top of my head. But Bruce and Eric, this is where Bruce and Eric started to be the MVPs when it come to Kiss. So let's take a look at this album really quick. Like I said, since I've got it in a physical copy. There's the front. There's the back. I like the back of that. I almost like the back of the album more than I like the front. And my Asylum still has the shrink wrap on it. I don't know if you see that. Still got the shrink wrap. And then once again, Mercury, boring center rings. But I like that they did these individual pictures of, like, you know, I guess what do you call them, B-roll from photo shoot, and put Gene and Bruce on one side. That's kind of cool. And then put Paul and Eric on the other, rather than Gene and Paul on one side and Bruce and Eric on the other. And of course you have your lyrics, which is cool. Lyrics are always good. I want to have a video one of these days where I talk about all the lyrics that I used to say, thinking that they were what they were, not really knowing I was singing the wrong thing, kind of like misheard lyrics. Okay. So we're up to 3. Alive, Animalize, Asylum. So we're going to go back in time a little bit to, you and I know the date, September 18th. I don't even have to say it. 4 albums released. 4. This takes us from 3 to 7 albums. Kiss is the only band to release 4 solo albums on the same day. And a lot of people to this day thinks that this was a bad idea. I love that they did it. I love all 4 solo albums. They all have their strengths. Even the better ones have some of their weaknesses. I've done many videos about the solo albums. You can go back and watch where I talk about my pros and cons when it comes to the solo albums. But how awesome is it that a band had the gumption to put out 4 solo albums, and the band have the talent to be able to put out 4 solo albums. All 4 members sing, all 4 members play an instrument, and they took a lot of freedom. Gene didn't even play bass on his album. He played guitar, and so they were able to stretch their legs. And some people really locked into their true talent and their true capabilities, like Ace Frehley on his album. So 4 albums in one day, and I have released on one day. And I remember going down to J. Joe's Records, standing in line, getting all 4 albums, getting my little bag, picking up some posters, picking up a shirt. I can't even fathom how much money my mom spent that day. Rest in peace, Mom, but forever. My mom's passed away now for about 7 years, but forever thank you, Mom, for what you did for me, buying me stuff, buying me Kiss stuff, and the collection that I had when I was young. My mom really embraced my passion for the band, and she always took care of me when it come to buying things for me things I wanted. I was probably a snotty little brat, but let's get into these albums. I'm going to show you as their catalog release. First in the catalog, by the catalog number, is Gene Simmons. And I want to open these. It's going to make this video lengthen up a little bit, but I want to show the people the things in them that they may not have, that they may not have ever seen. So you have Gene Simmons' solo album, and then inside of that, you have one of the most awesome slips ever, dust covers, the 4 solo albums. I mean, it's iconic. Iconic. I love it. Sometimes I'll just set up here and I'll get my albums out and I'll look at them, and I won't even play them. I'll just get them out and look at them. And you got the center ring that's got Gene's picture. All 4 band members have their picture in the middle of their rings. Then also inside of here, you have the merch form. You would have had a merch form. The order form on one side, and the invitation to join the Kiss Army, and then the very well marketed and choreographed merch. Every member had their own poster, every member had their own shirt, had their own button, had their own buckle, had their own necklace, and then they have, of course, the stuff that was together. And I remember this was the poster that I walked away with, and this was the shirt here that I walked away with whenever I bought my records in the record store. The back of the albums are all choreographed as well. The Geraldo Caraguti paintings. And then I can't remember the name of the guy who did the poster. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. But once again, a well choreographed marketing, because the posters that are amazing have these notches on them where you line them up with the other poster, and you can always see what was coming or what was going, because here you have Paul's stuff coming over into Gene's, and then right here you see a little bit of a green because we're heading to Peter. You see a little bit of a drum right here, so you're heading to Peter. So they gave you a little snippet. So if you only had one poster, you're like, oh man, this is going to be Peter on this end, and this is going to be Paul on this end. You might not have known that, but you could tell by the drum. I love this poster of Gene. And you notice there's 3 shots of him. We'll talk about a little known factoid. There's actually 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one member that only has 3. And some of these were taken from posters, that are from shots and from live shots, and they just cartoon formed them. So a lot of this looks very familiar. It should. All right, so the second in the solo catalog, Mr. Ace Frehley on the guitar. Ace and his guitar. I always think about that. Ace's album number 2, which, you know, for a lot of us, it's number one. You know what I'm saying? The amazing picture of him on the front, the very choreographed back to the rest of them. The sleeve, of course, Ace has his picture on his as well. You see it there. And then you have the merch form, and it looks just like every merch form, but oh, it's blue. Look at there. So, you know, you see the colors start to come. Gene was red. Ace's is blue. And on the front, you have the same things, the poster, the shirts, the buttons. And then down here at the bottom, I didn't show this, on where they were selling old stock. Get your Kiss concert book, you know, the stuff left over from the Alive tour. Get your Marvel Comics book. Get the Kiss Meets the Phantom. Ooh, Kiss Meets the Phantom is coming out. And it's just got the book. It's just got a blank cover there because they didn't know what the cover was going to look like. So they were already promoting the movie at the time that the album come out, because it was coming out in October, shortly after that. And so if we get out the poster, you see that this is the one I was telling you about. You're coming from Peter, because Peter threw out the roses, and Ace is the end of the line. And then Ace only has 3 pictures. I see that possibly there could have been a 4th one up here where the big Jupiter is. I don't know why they choose, not Jupiter, Uranus or Saturn. That's Saturn. My astrology's off. But iconic shots. I know what this shot looks like in real life. What this shot looks like. This is like from the cubes. And these are just taken, they're basically drawings of the shots that we've all seen. Ace's poster, he only had 3 poses of him, not 4 like the rest of the band. And it's weird. I always wondered that and why he didn't. Number 3 in the catalog of the releases of the solo album is Peter, Chris. And Peter, Chris, and Gene's albums are 2 of the albums that people say they like the least. Everybody always says that Paul's and Gene's are better. I think they're all great in their own way. I love Peter's album on a dark night, on a rainy night, and when it starts getting cold. It's not cold yet here in where I live in North Carolina. It's still very much summer. It's about 90 degrees outside right now. We had a little bit of a fall tease. I don't know if that happens anywhere else, where anyone else is from. But here in the South, we get a fall tease where the temperature, when you start getting into August, you'll get a couple days where the temperatures are in the 70s and the lows are in the low 50s. And then you get that for a few days, and the next thing you know, you're back up in the 90s. And it sucks. But you have to put up with it. So Peter was my favorite member of the band at this time, of course, because he's a drummer. And I used to just sit and stare at the detail that's in these pictures, these paintings. Just, you can see the individual hairs, and I used to just be amazed at that. And you know, we all tried to draw these things. The dust cover again, and Peter on there again, just like the rest of the band. And the green merch form. I feel sorry anytime I'm glad that I got a full collection that has merch forms in them. But at the same time, it makes me kind of sad because I think about that fan that might not have wanted the Kiss merch, or might not have had the money in their family to be able to get it. So I'm always sad whenever I see an empty merch form that was never filled out. But at the same time, also happy that I was able to get them. Peter's album is the only one to have this. Has nothing on the backside. But this is an additional credit of who wrote what. And I believe this is because of Stan Pendridge. Because Stan Pendridge wrote a lot of the songs on here. And Sean Delaney as well. Peter is, and Vinnie Poncia as well. Peter is not known for being a songwriter. So I think this was kind of required, maybe, because he's the only one that has this. So One of those things that makes you think. And then the poster. So Peter is, so you got the flames coming from Gene. And then you have Ace. You can see part of his stars and part of his little solar planet here. And then Peter has 4 pictures of him. One where it looks like he's standing on the cubes and singing Beth over here. And so he has 4. I want to someday maybe take these and get them like custom framed. Get like a custom frame made that is long and not very high. Because I feel like I'd have to go to a framery shop to get that done. There's one near my house. Some say last but not least, Paul Stanley. I think Paul Stanley's album is a masterpiece. But it does have its kinks in its armor. It does have its flaws. Even Ace's album has its flaws. What's some of Ace's flaws on his album? The lyrics, not that strong. But they suit Ace. And that's what I want. I want lyrics that suit the person that made them. Ace couldn't have made Paul's album. Paul couldn't have made Ace's album. So Paul's album is, I think, is a masterpiece in a way. It's a masterclass. Very well crafted songs, but not a perfect album. My little mini review. I said there weren't going to be reviews, but I lied. Little mini reviews. There's the back. Once again, slip cover. I keep calling it slip cover. It's actually a dust cover. I have these things that I do my brain the way my brain works. If you see me pull out stuff like this, it's if I have a 45, I will stick it in the album. I had one for Gene. I'll show you this one for Paul's because it's very interesting. It's Goodbye and is on the B side. Hold Me, Touch Me on the A side. That was Paul's single. Horrible choice. Horrible choice. But if you notice, this actually, as at one point in time, was in a jukebox. And it looks like it would have been, it says $3 on it. I don't know if that's how much I paid for the thing, or if I paid $5, but surely it wasn't $3 to play a song. But that's cool that's in there. And it wasn't in there. I bought it and put it in there. Paul's, purple. And then the merch, the back, and then the front. And then the poster. So Paul's leaves. Paul starts. He's got a flat edge, and then he's got the edge going into, you see the flame coming down here from Gene. All these photos, so iconic. So iconic. These drawings are from iconic photos. That's what I mean. You know what I'm saying. You got to speak Brantonese. That's what my wife calls it. No slight to a Chinese person. But that's what it could be Cantonese or Ease or whatever. But my wife always says I speak Brantonese. Okay, so we're up to 7 albums. We have 3 to go, believe it or not. So we're going to go back to 83. Lick It Up with Mr. Vincent Cusano on the guitar. And he also had a heavy influence on Creatures, heavy influence on Revenge. And so this is the album, I believe, that saved Kiss. This is the album, them taking the makeup off, riding the MTV wave and making videos, making a video for All Hell's Breaking Loose, making a video for Lick It Up, making those iconic 80s style videos. Which came first? All Hell's Breaking Loose, Lick It Up, or Too Young to Fall in Love? Which came first? But anyway, was Kiss copying Motley Crue, or was Motley Crue copying Kiss? Motley Crue always copied Kiss. But anyway, always. Motley Crue always copied Kiss. So that's just my little opinion. So Lick It Up. Yes, this album came out on September 18th. So the same day the solo albums came out. We have one more September 18th album that's coming out. We're going to be talking about. But 83, Lick It Up. the first unmasked, unmakeup album. Just a sleek back cover, white cover of the band, all in street clothes and stuff. And you have your the first of the boring Mercury. What do you call them? Center rings. It's been a long week, y'all. I'm just up here in my Kiss room on the Sunday afternoon, just hanging out, talking about Kiss albums with you guys. I love lyrics. I love the lyrics, seeing the lyrics and stuff. And Kiss was doing some cool things during this time, too. They were putting out, here's the single for All Hell's Breaking Loose, and it has a picture from the video on it. And then on the back side, it's got the album Lick It Up. And then I've also got you got Lick It Up, the single here. But on the back side, one of the baddest songs on the album, Not for the Innocent. Not for the Innocent is so amazing. Love it. It was actually cut during the Creatures sessions. If you've got the Creatures box set, you've heard the demo. And so we're up to the 9th album. Put out in 1987 on September 18th. These are crazy, crazy, crazy nights. Crazy Nights album. And I can't show you the inside of this because it's not open. It's still sealed. All the way from 1987. It's 2024 and this album's still sealed. So, there you go. Crazy Nights. Crazy, Crazy Nights. This is... let me go give you a little bit of my history. Everybody that has watched me has known that during this time, I checked out. I actually did not own this album until I bought it a couple years ago, maybe about 5 years ago now, to review it. So I've had this one in my possession for about 5 years or so. There's another Kiss album that I don't own, but I'm working on getting a physical copy of it. But this album, by the time this album came out in 87, I was heavy on bands like Guns N' Roses, Faster Pussycat, Bullet Boys, Rat, Motley Crue, Metallica, and Kiss was too busy trying to sound like Bon Jovi for me. And I liked Bon Jovi, but I didn't want Kiss to sound like Bon Jovi. And I remember hearing Crazy Nights thinking that's cool. But I really had not heard any other song off of here until I started reviewing them years later. And there's songs off here that the first time I heard them, I did not care for them. There's some songs on here that I think are much better than others. And I used to not really be a fan of the production of this album. I still think that Bruce and Eric were the MVPs of these albums, but they very much were. I don't think they were making the kind of music that they really wanted to make at this point in time. But this album is a good album. I've come to embrace it. I've come to like it. And I still listen to it. I listen to it all the time. I'll listen to it this month during September. That's what I try to do. That's why I try to look and see what albums have come out, because I'll kind of spotlight them in my own daily work, like working, driving. I'll listen to the albums that came out during that month. Finally, the September 22nd, we fast forward all the way to from 87 to 1998. September 22nd, 1998, we have the Psycho Circus. And you see that it kind of, it's the, what do they call it, lenticular or whatever cover. Trying to get my window and my ring light out of it. Couldn't get the words out of my mouth. This is still sealed. This is the 180 gram vinyl pressing that's sealed. I really don't have an interest in opening it. I really don't know what's in it. I've never really looked and seen what all comes in here, but I'm pretty sure it's nothing too great. I could be wrong though. It could be amazing. There could be a book in here that somebody be like, oh man, you got to open that and let that book breathe and get that. Look at that book. I don't know. I don't know what's in here, but anyway, this is the re-release that came out in 2014. And I know the 2014s, they were trying to be very true to the original releases. So there's the front, there's the back. Psycho Circus, to me, is a great album, even though it's not really a Kiss album. It's a Paul and Gene album with a bunch of other musicians, and Ace has a song. It's almost like side 4 of Kiss Alive 2. Ace has his one song, Into the Void, and then Gene and Paul have their songs, and Peter has his song that Paul wrote for him, that a lot of people despise, but I personally love. I Finally Found My Way. But Psycho Circus is great. Within is amazing. I pledge allegiance to the state of rock and roll, the longest title ever, but that's one of my favorite songs on this album. Into the Void is great. We Are One, I really don't care for. I think it's like kind of like pandering, but a lot of people like that song, and that's great. You Wanted the Best. I hate that song. I hate You Wanted the Best. I hate that it's the only song that all 4 members play on together, and they're just airing their dirty laundry and making light of it. But it's not probably my least favorite song on this album. Raise Your Glasses is amazing. I Finally Found My Way. I love it. Dreamin' I like okay. It's hard for me to. Dreamin' sounds like, what is it, 18? And then Journey of 1,000 Years. It's one that I used to not really care for, but it has grown on me over time. So the 10th album of September, Psycho Circus. So think about that. I don't know if that is the, and I didn't do this research, but ahead of time, but I don't know if September has the most releases or not. I don't know. If you know, let me know down in the comments that if September with 10 releases is not the most releases for the band, let me know what month it is. I'm curious to know. And I'm thinking about doing this for October too. I know in October we got some really cool releases. I know that there's Alive 2. I know that there's Hotter Than Hell. Still waiting to see if we get a Hotter Than Hell box set. Most likely we won't. As I said in my last video, if you can watch it, I don't really know what Universal is doing as far as box sets anymore. I know that they are working on doing a vinyl of Destroyer. But I really would like to see a box set for Hotter Than Hell. I hate that we didn't get one for the first debut album at the 50th anniversary, no doubt. But they were in the middle of transition of selling the catalog and yada, 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 or selling the brand and so on and so forth and whatnot. But fingers crossed, we get a Hotter Than Hell box set. They just recently released the stuff for Hot in the Shade. Of course, like I said in my last video, they only printed 500 copies of the picture disc, and they sold out like that in 6 minutes. And I've got my eye on the blue vinyl with the foil and the embossing. I hate that I have to buy a hoodie that I don't really want to get it, because you can't buy it by itself. It's part of a package. And the poster's pretty cool. That comes along with it too. And the price isn't too bad. I think it's like $80 or whatever. So I still think that's overpriced. I would like to see maybe gotten the, well, I mean, if you look at the album and the shirt, the poster, yeah, it's probably about right. But I wish I could just get the album, because I don't have Hot in the Shade on vinyl. I have it on CD, but I do not have it on vinyl. So I'd like to have that. That's another one of those albums that I didn't buy until later on. And I'd only heard Hot in the Shade. If you've heard the story before, I'd only heard Hot in the Shade the time that I was on my way to a concert, a Hot in the Shade concert. I heard Hot in the Shade for the first time. And it's an extremely long album, and I've done reviews on it before. Even done a review about shortening it down to 10 tracks, or 9 tracks, 9 or 10 tracks, or whatever, cutting some tracks off. So that's in my catalog too, if you want to look back at my playlist. But that's all I've got for this week. And I wanted to make this video real quick because it's right here at the first of the month. And I may be back next week. I may not. All depends on how busy I am or how busy I'm not. It's Sunday, the day before Labor Day. So I have the day off. I've got tomorrow off. So I figure, well, let's make a video for the people. And I appreciate everybody that watched the last video and all the comments. I told you guys to comment, put it down in the comment section and have a conversation. And I got over 800 views on that video, and that's the first I've got that high amount of views in a while. And so I appreciate that. It made me feel good to know that I'm still viable and people want to still watch my videos, even though I don't make them as much as I used to, and I don't make them exactly the way I used to. So anyway, that's all I've got for this one. I appreciate you. If you're a new viewer, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. If you're an old viewer and you've been here, and whether you're new or old, drop something down in the comments. Leave a memory about one of the albums. Talk about one of the albums. Talk about which one might be one of your favorite out of all of them. What's your favorite solo album? What album do you like out of the 10 that came out this month, the month of September the most? Just conversate down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.